What's going on, guys? Reisshub back with another video, and in today's video I'm starting off a new series where I find the errors that the pros make and why their games don't go that well. I'm actually going to be going through the top 5 of the EU, F and CS, I meant solo cash cup from last weekend, and find the mistakes in some of the bad games that they've played. Now obviously these players are coming top of the leaderboard, so they don't play bad in every single game, but there are a few games where they don't perform up to their best, so let's figure out why so you can apply that to your own gameplay as well. If you like the video, please like the video and subscribe. Also, use code Reisshub in the item shop. So let's get into it. So let's start off with PabloWingu, who got the little god drop to stop at Salted Towers and grabbed the 2 weapons on the roof here. Picked up an easy elimination because of this, and then another second one, so off to a really good start in his first game of the Cash Cup. He then rotated very early up north to Pleasant Park to get more eliminations here, not harvesting as he went. From his early game he had 62 builds, and this rotation was extremely early, which means there's still going to be a large amount of players alive in Pleasant Park, and it's the early lobby, it's the first game, so the players potentially weren't going to be that good. However, as soon as he started to get into the fight, he got tagged for 50. Then he kind of committed to using a lot of his materials just to get on high ground when he was consistently getting sprayed. Then this fight dragged on a long time after he got beamed, so he ended up running very low on materials. There were multiple occasions where he could have disengaged during this fight, but just chose not to overall. Honestly, he should have either disengaged or harvested more materials on his way there. Because of the fact he was rotating so early, there was plenty of opportunities for him to grab materials on his way, and this could have just taken another 20 to 30 seconds and really not negatively impacted his game that much. A little bit more of that materials harvesting could have kept him alive, but instead he ran out of materials and then ran out of HP as well. So let's move on to a very well-known pro of Vadeal, who ended up coming second in the solo cash cup. Performed very well in his first game, getting 26 eliminations and that victory royale. And in his third game, this is actually where things started to not go so well for him. He was in a high elo lobby and was in a really good position coming into the 4th zone on height. However, an opponent tried to ramp over him and claim that high ground from him, which in this current meta is very important to take height early on in that kind of 4th and 5th zones. Now what he did was try to fight this player, which was fine, there's no issue with this. He wanted to show that he has his high ground, he was dominant. However, the issue with this is that he just consistently kept fighting him over and over again and did not disengage. Clearly the opponent that he was fighting was a good fighter as well, and Vadeal actually ended up spending almost 100 separate builds, so almost 1,000 mats to fight this guy in this position. There were several occasions where he could have disengaged and just taken high ground and maintained it at this point, but instead he just kept fighting over and over again. Because he was fighting a reasonably good player, and he got third-partied because obviously there were so many players still alive at this position, after wasting around 1,000 mats, he then decided just to psycho into the box, which is definitely within Vadeal's playstyle, but he potentially got a little bit too impatient because his opponent still had really good HP, hit a good charge on him, but just whiffed the AR shots afterwards. So overall, this fight probably shouldn't have continued on as long as it did at all. He still had good mats before this, and he had rotation, so there was no need for him to try and take this fight at all. And he probably should have waited till he hit one more big shot before making that psycho play to jump into the box. So let's move on to 3rd place, which was Rezon. Now, in his 8th game, he ended up coming 66th with a single elimination. So as you noticed that there was a third party approaching on this fight that was kind of dragging out that he'd had for a long time, and because of this he actually ended up protecting himself by putting walls all around him while he started to aggress the opponent. However, he forgot a simple mistake, which was not covering the roofs behind him and above him, which meant that this third party crouched up and managed to pick up the elimination easily. Now he knew this opponent was there because he'd protected himself already, but just missing this one single build piece ended this game for him. So in 4th we have Chapix, and he goes down to a very unfortunate but yet common circumstance where he snipes the opponent for a nice 105 shot, takes his time to build up, so the opponent is probably healed in this time as well. Then he tries to go into the wall of the opponent by placing a ramp, but he gets a little bit too down on the bottom of the ramp, which means he can easily get coned. But that is not the issue this time. He actually has a very bad muscle memory for this wall edit, which a ton of players do. And if you go and watch a lot of pros and a lot of middle level people, a lot of people have this left hand edit problem, where he takes the wall and he does a kind of bottom left corner edit, and unfortunately this allows him not to be able to see that the opponent is still on the ramp. It gives him a really bad peek, and it gives the player inside the box a really good peek, makes him miss a shot, whereas the opponent hits the shot and then hits all of his AR shots as well, cleaning up the elimination for him and losing Chapix the game. This is muscle memory that everyone needs to have at this point. It's just as soon as you edit a wall, making sure that you're editing a wall that gives you a right hand peek. Sounds super simple, but I guarantee you probably have this problem too. Moving on to number 5 is Gambit Toose, a very decorated solo player indeed. And he's performed very well, again coming 5th, and his mistake is yet another very common one that a ton of players made. He gets into this awkward box fight situation and he goes too deep into the opponent's box. You can see him actually manage to crack the opponent, hitting him for white HP, but the opponent actually has Slurpfish and manages to heal up a ton. And at this point, Toose has overcommitted himself. He's too far into the fight, into the opponent's builds, and there's a ramp over his head that's not his. He has the wall in front of him, however this won't get him out of the box. In order to get out, he'd have to walk all the way back and probably get shot as he does it. He then starts to take the wall to his left, which is one of the ones the opponent can edit through, but unfortunately the opponent just edits straight through it and gets a shot off on Toose, picking up the elimination. Overcommitting to fights is something that players of all levels do very frequently. They decide, you know what, I'm just going to get in, I've hit my opponent, I need to aggress, and they forget that the walls beside them aren't theirs and that they're actually now in a disadvantageous position and the opponents can easily clean them up and pick up easy eliminations because of this. Please like the video if you liked the video and subscribe if you aren't already. Peace!